What's up everyone, it's Andromeda, and welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about Quick Play Hacked Mode. So, Overwatch has dropped a new Quick Play Hacked Mode. In this one, it is a 66 roll queue, but instead of 222, it is 132. So, you'll have 1 tank, 3 DPS, and 2 support. Another twist with it is that third DPS can also switch to tank whenever he wants. So you have the option of going the classic 222, or you could stick with the 132. So why does this experiment exist? Well, if you played Overwatch 1, you know that the game used to be mostly 222 roll queue for most of its lifespan. But after a while, queue times just got to be unbearable. Nobody wanted to play tank nowadays. Everybody wanted to fill into DPS and support roles. Overwatch had a fix for this. They rebranded the Overwatch 2 and made the game 5v5. I think Blizzard is really just trying to find a middle ground here for everybody. Just to address all the players in the community, where you have, the 66 players that want 66 back. You have the players that don't really want to flex off DPS. And yeah, I think this kind of brings everybody together. You have 66 back, you have more DPS slots, and if people don't want to go tank, then there's only one tank to fill, so queue times are not as long. But Andromeda, I don't want to play quick play hacked. I want to come home after a long day and play my normal quick play Overwatch. See, but this is why these hacked modes are good, right? You don't want Blizzard making permanent changes without getting community feedback or data, right? Do you remember Clash? That horrible game mode nobody liked when it released? They even took it out of comp and quick play. That's how bad it was. So I think Blizzard is trying to learn from their mistakes here and just give the players like a little taste of what they're trying to cook up instead of just giving it to us and hoping we like it. And it's only for a couple days. It's not really disrupting too much. So I personally think that this strategy with 3 DPS is perfect and it makes sense. And I think this can be like the new path for Overwatch. So obviously there's more DPS players than any other role, right? So that covers that. You have more DPS players in a lobby, which cuts down queue times. But it also gives you the chance to flex when things aren't going good. Maybe you're not having a good game. Maybe you guys are just getting rolled and like you have no space. So that way you could switch to another tank if you wanted to, It just gives you options. You're not stuck in the 222 format, or you're not stuck in the 132. It just gives you options. And Overwatch is a game where you need options, right? You need to be able to counter swap to a different tank. You need all these different options for the game to work. Now, on the other hand, one of my biggest concerns is that the 132 comp is just not as strong as the 222. So, I'm sure you all know, but when you're in 66 and you're playing tank, you are quote unquote nerfed, right? You have less HP, some of your abilities work differently. Let's take Zarya as an example, right? She has obviously less HP, but also she can't double bubble herself like she does in 5v5, or she can't give 2 bubbles to the same ally. If you're running the 132 comp and your tank is that weak or nerfed, and they have 2 tanks on their team, there's just no way you can do better than the other comp that has 2 tanks, right? You can't create as much space because you're a weaker version of yourself, right? So those DPS, you have more DPS, right? But those DPS don't have any space to work with, right? They're just gonna get smothered by the 2 tanks coming their way. So I think maybe they need to address some of that and maybe give those buffs back to the tanks if there's only one on the field, right? So let's think of it like this. You are running the 132 comp, and instead of having the 6v6 nerf on the tank, let's give it back the 5v5 buff because there's only one tank on the field. And if the DPS switches to a tank, then all those buffs would be stripped away and it's the 66. I don't really know how that's going to work. Maybe the DPS character and the tank needs to be in spawn for that to work, for them to switch. And that way it's just not confusing on when it has extra health or when their abilities are different and things like that. The support players, I didn't forget about y'all, don't worry. But I think you guys are chilling. I don't think you guys have anything to really worry about or even like complain about, honestly. Like, yeah, there's an extra player you have to heal and like look out for on the enemy team, but like it's not a massive issue. If anything, it's more fun for you guys, especially if you're playing Juno and you get like a 6-man torpedo or something. Like, you guys are fine. But one thing I guess you could say is that I know that if you've gotten used to like the 5v5 format, you might be a little thrown off by like 6 people coming at you, but you guys will be fine. Overall, I think Blizzard should keep experimenting. I really like these quick play hack modes, and I hope y'all do too. And like I said earlier in the video, this really could be the future of Overwatch. They could bring back 66 without all the bad parts about it in Overwatch 1. The game's changing, and I hope you're ready to change with it. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the new quick play hack mode. I hope y'all enjoyed, and please give me your opinions down in the comments. See you in the next one.